Thank you so much for choosing to attend this seminar amongst all the others that I'm sure were also really amazing. Okay, so this presentation is to just get our minds thinking about how to have more empathy for our teens, because I know that they can be very difficult at times, and we all do our best as parents, but sometimes, you know, we have our days too. So, okay, so who in this room can tell me what they think is the most important thing in your teen's life? What has the most impact on your teen? Friendships, absolutely. So your teen, I think at 6 years old, has started to form sort of their own opinions, basically. So they've moved away from you. They've started to move away from you, and they're more influenced by their friends and their peer groups, starting at 6 years old. So studies have shown that teens with more friends have fewer symptoms of depression and feel a stronger sense of belonging. So friend groups are they're very vital for a teen's development. And they also help with self-esteem, lower rates of anxiety, longer life expectancy, improved cognitive function. So friendships are really driving force in life. They help them make decisions about what they're interested in, where they want to go to college.
Yeah, everything. There's even the doctor who's over the United States. What's that called? I can't remember. Thank you. The Surgeon General has even written a book about loneliness and how it's important to be with people. It's called Together. It's very, very good. If you haven't gotten a chance to read it, get a hold of it. That friendships, yeah, they're really important, and they start early. They start in that age, because what else is happening at that age? They're going to school. So they're spending more time with peers than they are with us at home.
Okay, so everybody's heard of FOMO, right? FOMO? Yes? Yeah, so everybody has experienced it at some point. So it's so significant for teens that it can literally physically hurt them if they're feeling FOMO, if they're lonely, if they're feeling left out. Brain imaging suggests that the same regions of the brain are activated by social rejection as by physical pain. So they are physically feeling sad, like they're acting sad, they're feeling sad, their body is feeling rejected. So if you've ever been broken up with by somebody, it's probably like the same kind of feeling where you are physically like ill almost, your heart hurts. It's really hard. FOMO seems kind of like, you know, I know that a lot of social media influences FOMO, and it might seem like someone's being overdramatic if they're not at a party or if they see their friends out and about and they're not invited too. But I mean, it sucks if all your friends or your peers are out somewhere, they're doing something, and you're not there, or you don't feel like they want you there. So when and where does FOMO occur? So obviously not being invited out, images on social media, exclusion from the latest gossip or news, group texts, or hearing about others traveling or going places. So those are the more common places that FOMO occurs.
You know, those mean girl things in junior high that we had, think about that on a group text, and someone, all of a sudden you're dropped from a group text. I've had a high school teacher explain to me in middle school, that's how those mean girls are getting at them now. Oh, you're dropped from it. And you don't even know why, but that's how they start excluding people. That's a game that gets played.
Or they'll do something like somebody posts a picture and like nobody will like it, and then somebody else will post another picture following that, and then 10 people will like it. And it's an intentional thing almost to push the person out. So those are some examples of like how texting might include FOMO. Okay, so I know that in the keynote speaker, she did mention a lot of things about social media. So
yeah, so she said some really great things, and we're not here to like repeat her things. We're here to tell you what's going on in your child's brain so you can empathize, not necessarily how to change it. She had some great ideas for that, and I'm so excited to read her book. But let's talk about social media real quick. How many of you think it's a good thing? Oh, man. How many of you think it's a bad thing? There are pros and cons to it. So we go to school, we created a social media workshop that talks to the kids about don't use it, because there is no way they're going to listen, especially to parents, but even to us, to not use it. But what are the healthy ways to use it. So, and when to set it aside because it's affecting your mental health. The same stuff applies to you guys.
Yeah, we're on social media.
Sometimes we forget to put it away, so let's look at the pros and cons, because the same ones that are for the young people are for us. So that cons, that body comparison, it's so much worse than it used to be with, just looking at the magazines, and they were photoshopped, because now it's anyone can get on there and Photoshop their image. It isn't just Cindy Crawford. So we look at that and that body comparison. And a reminder, boys see it too. They think of it in terms of muscles, and you see, or height, yes. And they see those, big bodybuilders up there. They don't think about the photoshopping. They don't think about the lighting. They don't think about that this person might be on steroids, and that's probably part of their body type. And even young men that are well muscled, they're in the football team, and they really are in a good spot, will start to develop muscle rexia. Is that what that muscle rexia?
Yes.
Something like that. So it is no longer just about the girls looking at their body and having body dysmorphia. Musclemorphia, that's it. So it is the boys too, and we have to keep that in mind if you have young men, to watch out for something that in the past we thought was a girl thing. And the FOMO we talked about, the being addictive to it, when it starts getting in the way of them doing the other things in life that they need to do, like sleep, sometimes eat, being with a person in person. It can be a really good thing, and it can be a nice distraction, but when it gets addictive, we got to talk to them about it. The superficial validation that Leigh mentioned, and oh my gosh, false information. When I go into schools, I tell the kids, please, 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 please never Google mental health. Because there's a lot of people out there that are going to put false information up. Either they want your money, or they're just nasty people, or they think they know things that they don't know. So it's really important for us to put that in their head, to remind them that, especially with Google, not everything that comes to the top is the right information. It might be the person who paid the most money. And as she mentioned earlier at the keynote speaker, that goes for diet and exercise and how you look too. So making sure we have those conversations with our young ones about that.
Also, TikTok has a lot of people who portray themselves as being doctors or professionals or experts, and kids are diagnosing themselves, or they're thinking there's something wrong with them based off of a 1-minute video off of TikTok. But there's really no way to actually know if those people are who they're saying that they are. So watch out for that too. Yeah. I know it's hard to sort of know whether or not that's what they're looking at, but if they're all of a sudden claiming, your child is saying, I think that I might have this diagnosis, or I think that there's something wrong with me, and it's like, well, where is this coming from? Where is this being based off of? And if you see them on TikTok a lot, it's probably coming from TikTok.
But there are those pros, and we know them because we use them. Seeking or offering support. I've seen my friends post that their pet has died, and I can know about that and give them that support where I might not have otherwise. Self-expression, she talked about that downstairs at the keynote speaker as well. I mean, there's a lot of creative things you can do with this that are safe.
Online support groups too.
Yes. But safe ones, vet them. Yeah. Starting the business and networking. So we're always learning new things on Facebook, on like YouTube and things like that. New skills and hobbies, especially during COVID. I was doing these presentations for kids during COVID online, and I was telling them, I know you're stuck at home, but you have resources I never would have had. If this had happened when I was growing up, we would just be sitting there, because we couldn't go to the library and pull out a book on how to draw. And you can go online and learn how to draw, and no one has to see it. This could just be for your own enjoyment. You can learn how to make things. You can learn how to do makeup. My daughter learned a lot about makeup. She might be going to a makeup school next year because she started out learning it on YouTube. And that's great. They have the connections they never had before. I moved twice in high school, so I went to 3 different high schools. And I usually lost my connection with my friends because I'm a horrible letter writer. If I had had Facebook or Twitter, and I'm never calling it X, Twitter or whatever it is, I could have maintained some of those friendships. I could have connected with them. And when I was feeling lonely at the new high school, I would have had that connection because it was expensive to call, so it was letters. So there are some really good things that can happen on there. They're also learning a lot about the world. We're going to talk about the negative side of that too. But they're learning so much. Some of it, again, you have to remind them, is this a reliable source? But it's opening up doors to them that we didn't have in the past. A couple things to keep in mind. Algorithms, talk to your kids about those. But social media is here to stay, whether we like it or not, whether we want to keep our kids off it or not. Our kids know more about how to sneak onto the phone and do things than we do. And my husband's a software engineer too. And I found out things that they were doing that neither of us had any idea, because they figure these things out. So they are here to stay. So what we want to concentrate on, okay, how can we make these, maybe they're not 100% pro, but how can we make them use it this way instead of this way, right? And we want to talk to them about algorithms, how when we Google something, those top 10 things that come up are paid advertisements. So we don't know what we're getting. You got to be very, very careful. Do your research. So algorithms work. We actually, on our social media side, I put together something where I go, okay, which one do you want to pick? And there's like 2 pictures, and one is puppies, and the other one has the Kardashians. And they all go, Kardashians! We did 8 presentations in one day, and only 1 class went with the puppies. So we go to the Kardashians. And then the next one, the puppies are gone, but the Kardashians are with more Kardashian stuff. And okay, which one are you going to pick? And we show them how this is what's going to come up. If you pick the Kardashians, more of this stuff. And then it ends with something on fire. But when you pick the puppies, what do you think comes up? We get another puppies, and we still get the Kardashians.
Because that's how algorithms work. If you click on something, like just one thing, like I'll be in TikTok. I'm guilty of using TikTok because I want to know what's out there, and I'm also, sometimes the videos are funny. But if I click on one thing that's like a sad story, just like one thing, and I stay on it for at least 30 seconds, I can keep going, and I'll still be in the interest, 5 videos that are nature or whatever. And then that one other video is going to slip in about something really horrible because I watched that one video just for a few seconds. So the algorithm is still remembering that I looked at something for at least a little bit.
And it's trying to push us towards those negative stuff because we are hardwired to look for the negative. It's the cave person instinct in us that we're always on the lookout. We always got to be on for that negative. So we are going to lean towards that negative. And we have to talk to our young people about that. Why are you clicking on this? What's making it exciting? And when you click on this, it's just going to keep giving you more and more of this. But if you click on the puppies, you're going to start getting, you're still getting some of this stuff, but then some of the good stuff comes on. And if you stay at it long enough, you're getting less and less of the bad stuff. So them understanding what an algorithm is, and you understanding what an algorithm is, can be very helpful in pushing them towards the right things for their mental health. And remind them, yeah, we all like to look at those weird Kardashians sometimes. Even I can't stand the Kardashians, but even I, every once in a while, I'm like, really? I gotta, is that what they're doing? To understand what they're seeing and why they're seeing it is very, very important. Go ahead.
So there was that drug campaign, like Just Say No to Drugs, back in the
Oh, yeah.
And so that campaign did not work because it was like telling kids what to do. Don't do this. You're not allowed to do it. Don't do it. So it's like telling them not to use social media, say don't do it. This is why. They're going to do the opposite of what you're saying. So to lean into it, so like when we give our presentation, we're not saying don't use it. We're just trying to show you safer ways to use it. So it's not going to work if you're like, don't use it because these are all the reasons why it's bad, because then they're just going to defy you because that's in their nature.
Yes.
So it's about leaning into the safer ways, what the good components are, having that back and forth communication so they feel comfortable talking to you about what they're looking at or what they're doing. Maybe if they are on Instagram, you could ask their permission, like, can I follow you on Instagram? Or, like just kind of being just more involved in what they're doing with social media.
Yeah. I want to hit on this real quick before we move on. Heavy use of social media, yes, that is concerning. When my daughter was at some of her lowest points, she had lost all of her friends. And everyone, the therapeutic school, the regular school, the therapist, and in the hospital, get her off. She's addicted. She's addicted. Take away her phone. Take away her phone. Use that as punishment. We finally got the therapist that was right for her, and he said, do not take away her phone. She's using it for music, which is calming her. She is using it for funny YouTube videos, which is calming her. She is not using it in the negative way, even though she is on it all the time. She's using it as something she needs right now, but I'll slowly wean her away from it. So being careful that what are they using it for? Are they feeling like they don't have friends and that's a way that they're able to connect or find out things? So it isn't always the worst thing out there, and we shouldn't just be pulling them away. See why and how they're using it. All right, we can move on. Stresses teens face in today's society that we didn't have, right? Part of it because social media puts it all out there. And that's good and that's bad. I was not very socially aware when I was growing up. And now I look back and go, oh, why wasn't I? But my kids are very, very socially aware. And what's going on in the world, and being upset by it. But they're upset by it. So how do we handle that? Oh no, it's good that they know this information. But sometimes their brains aren't quite ready for it. So making sure we talk to them about those things, like climate change. Maybe they're watching a lot of things on climate change and they come to you and they're really stressed. Okay, let's have a conversation about that. What's going on? What can we do? Where is it going?
Also, was anybody, did anybody have drills in school about mass shootings when anybody was in middle school or high school? No. Well, we did. No, maybe some of you did, but I didn't. Most of the people my age didn't have that. And so to add that into the mix is terrifying. If somebody's going to come in, you're worried someone's going to come in with a gun and murder a bunch of children and teachers. I mean, that's. Happened to be at the school one time when there was an active shooter drill, and I was terrified. And I knew it was a drill, and I was terrified, sitting in the little conference room, really, really quiet, and a kindergarten next to me, a kindergartner who happened to have ADHD and was really having trouble staying still and quiet. And I'm like, oh my God, we can't. And then I was actually in a soft lockdown at a school once too, and it's like, I don't know what's going on. They're just telling us we have to stay in here, and I have no clue. And then, of course, my girls went to North. That was it last year or the year before when they had all those bomb threats. And I'm like, is my daughter okay? She was at therapeutic school in the morning. Should I be sending her? They're telling me to send her to school in the afternoon. And my older daughter's calling me saying, don't send her. I'm like, I don't know. They're telling me it's safe, but it's not. So we have them too, but can you imagine being the ones in that building? So we need to be aware of that and cognizant of these are things that our kids are going through now. And again, we're not telling you how to fix them. That's for another presentation. But we're telling you these are the things to be aware about when you see your kids getting anxious or stressed. That's because they have a lot to be anxious and stressed about. Also, immigration and deportation issues.
Oh my gosh.
Because a lot of people who live here are immigrants, and because of some political people, there's a lot more emphasis on the threat of being deported.
And racism
goes along with that, and prejudice, and I think that is really instilled in a lot of young kids now, and so these are other additional things that I think kids are more aware of and having to think about in their daily lives. So
even as little ones, I remember in elementary school, there were kids right after one of the shootings, kids being scared, Muslim kids being scared to go onto the bus stop in elementary school. So we got to talk about these things and reassure them, yeah, these bad things can happen. This is what protections we have. This is what we're doing. That sometimes the media blows things out of proportion as well.
So if your child is struggling because they can't get their homework done one day, it's like if it's just one day, if it happens every once in a while, it's maybe because they have a bunch of other things on their mind. So it's just important to take those things into account, just to be less hard on our kids, and just reminding yourself of what it was like when you were a teen, and the expectations that teachers and parents and coaches and everybody else had on you. I know it's really hard because you just want the best for your child. You love them. You want to see them succeed. But just pulling back from time to time and keeping that in mind is really important.
And sometimes it's just enough to listen and say, yeah, that is something that's going on, and that's really hard, and I feel for you too. You're not alone in this. Which leads us to...
Okay, so this is just something to think about when you're stressed out, because it's hard to come home. So I have 2 younger kids, so I'll be at work all day. I work in mental health. Sometimes the days are rougher than other days. I come home, and then I have 2 kids who need me immediately. I walk through the door, it's like, mommy, 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 and then they have like a toy they want to show me. It's like blinking, they're shining it in my face, and I have 2 dogs barking at me, and my husband's like, hi, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I just want to like leave the house again and come back in, which sometimes I have to do. Like it's a lot, but I don't want to like bring in my stress from my day and take it out on my family. So trying to be more aware of myself and how to like emotionally regulate and communicate and say something like, give me just 5 minutes. I just walked in the door. I love you. I want to talk to you and hear about your day, but mommy needs some time to herself. And then not taking out my stress on them and projecting and making them feel sad and self-conscious and isolated by the way that I'm responding to them, just wanting to be around me. So we want to be cognizant of filtering our stresses, so that your teen isn't absorbing your stresses in addition to their stresses, which really affects their self-esteem. And then we want to help normalize emotions and emotional competence. So if your child is going through something, try not to be dismissive of it immediately. Try to like let them be heard, let them be seen, acknowledge what they're feeling, validate their emotions. And then also pass on constructive coping strategies. So if they're going through something, if they're angry, maybe say, sometimes when I'm angry, I like to scream into a pillow. Or sometimes when I'm angry, I like to blast my favorite rage song. Or sometimes I like to go on a run. Or, just help them work through whatever it is they're going through, instead of saying like, yeah, you're fine, you'll get over it.
Or, you don't know how easy you have it. Wait till you're an adult.
Right. Like,
we want to empathize with them.
Right.
We want them to know we're in their corner. Autonomy. I'm going to talk about this because I have the older children, and I have gone through this. I have watched it with my very own eyes. Autonomy is them wanting to be their own person, and us not wanting them to be their own person yet, because they're still our little babies, but they are not our little babies anymore. Around junior high, they start meeting enough other people and start forming their own opinions and thinking their way is always right. And we want them to be our way, and we don't want them, coming and telling us things. But it's really, really important that we let them figure these things out, that they're able to start being independent person, that as long as we teach them how to do that. My daughter and my husband butted heads so bad during those junior highs and high school years. She didn't even want him to come to her Sweet 16 dinner. We were all going out to dinners. My husband was in tears. He's like, I can't believe this. I'm never going to get this back. My other daughter's Sweet 16 was during COVID, so we got to celebrate that with her in the house. But it's important because now, she amazes me. She's 23 years old now. She graduated a year early from high school. She graduated a year early from college. She got her master's right away. She has her first real job. She went on her first business trip. She has a boyfriend that she's had for 2 years and is not living with him because she's like, I need to be me first. And, until I've had a chance to be out on my own for at least a year, I'm not going to move in with him. I have a roommate. So by letting her be autonomous, she has grown into this incredible woman who now calls her dad more than she calls me. A lot of times like, how are my taxes? I'm not sure how to fill out this form for work. What's my insurance? So a lot of it is that kind of thing, but they have these really great conversations now. And they're not like on these 2 separate pages where, she used to call him this privileged white guy. And she would say, he would say, excuse me? My privilege is flowing down to you. But she's seeing what she can do with that privilege now to help others, and that's something that we modeled for her. And that's the important thing. Let them be their own person, model that good behavior, be there for them, even if they say, I don't want you to come to dinner on my sweet 16. So how do you support it? There's not a really easy way. You let them do the things they need to do as long as they're safe. And if they're not safe, you pull back. My older daughter, again, she loved anime conventions, and she had all these friends that went to anime conventions. Want to know who the con mom was? Me. And they loved it. I would stay in a room with 7 other kids, a hotel room with 7 other kids, sleeping in a bed with my daughter and her best friend. But I knew who she was hanging out with. And they would head out to the party or whatever, and the this and the that, and they were coming back to me. And I know they weren't using drugs, and I know they weren't drinking because I made it very, very clear, and I watched their behavior. So she got to do this thing she loved. She went 4 or 5 a year with the people she really liked. I was just in the background. I was reading my book. I was watching my TV shows. They'd come in at the end of the night. Ooh, what's this? We're watching Dance Moms. Ooh, can I watch with you? So we sneak in there in the little ways, and we support them, and we support their friends, even if we're not always loving them. So that they know they're always there. And this was a really hard time for my older daughter, too, because this is when my younger daughter was in and out of hospitals, and she was feeling she had to be the adult, and she was putting too much on me. So making sure, again, that I was really in the area for her, but on the outside.
Okay, don't be a lawnmower. So what does a lawnmower do? It runs things over. It's got big wheels, it's got blades, it destroys everything in its path, basically. So what that term means is you're mowing down obstacles that they're going to need to experience on their own at times. We want to protect our babies. We don't want anything bad to happen to them, but sometimes they need to have those things happen to experience them, to know how to react and what to do.
How many of you have had that bad boyfriend or girlfriend that really wasn't very good for you? And I did, and my parents even came and said, your teacher said this isn't a great guy, but do what you want to do, just know that. And a few weeks later, I broke up with him. On my own, I figured it out. But had they told me, I would have been resentful. I wouldn't have seen what the toxicity was myself. But so that gave me that chance.
We want to help them build resilience. So we want to help them be able to bounce back from hard times. So my older son, when he started first grade at his elementary school, there was a boy there who was bullying him. And it wasn't to the point where I was going to have a meeting with anybody. It was just the occasional, he would tease him or say things. And Wesley did come home crying a couple times, which, triggered me. But I'm not going to go beat up a 6-year-old, and so I didn't think
she wanted to.
I didn't think it was worth me talking to the parents about either at that point. I wanted to see what was going to happen, and I wanted to see how Wesley would react in that situation. And then eventually the boy just stopped and found somebody else to pick on. And now this year, Wesley and that boy are friends, and I'm like, are you sure you want to be friends with him? And Wesley's like, yeah, I'm sure, but in my mind, I'm still mad. Wesley's not mad anymore, but I'm still mad. And but I have to let him figure out those circumstances and how to react and how he wants to proceed. And it shouldn't be all in my control about putting him in a bubble and protecting him from every bad thing that's going to come after him, because then he's never going to learn anything. I mean, I feel like the best moments for me in my life have been the toughest because I've come out of those moments stronger. So letting your child experience those really difficult moments with people, and then just having a job or trying something new. Failure is always an option because it helps you learn from those mistakes. So just don't block them from those difficult things.
One day they're going to be out on their own, and if you have always been the one taking care of it all, they're not going to know what to do, and it's going to be worse.
If you're not functioning on at least 8 hours of sleep, then it's hard to go about your day. And I get cranky when I don't sleep, and I have insomnia, so I'm cranky a lot. But I try to use coffee, other things to help me out. But I mean, if you're not getting that sleep, your body isn't able to make good decisions, focus, learn new things. You're not able to communicate properly. Your memory development, or your child's memory development might be off. You might not remember things that are being told to you throughout the day yourself. So sleep is super important, and because of the age that teens are at, they really need the sleep for the proper development and for the frontal cortex to also be developing as well. So if they don't have that sleep, so if your teen is like watching TikToks all night till 3 a.m. and they get like 4 hours of sleep, and then they have to go to school from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. And that's, I mean, first of all, classes at 7 a.m., I mean, nobody can learn.
I never want the morning shift at schools.
So they're already sort of flailing at the beginning of the day.
And it doesn't even have to be TikTok. They're in so many activities. Think about if your child is in a lot of activities, asking them, are all of these bringing you joy? You've got school, you've got homework, you've got this and this and this, and you're not coming into this. Is it really bringing you joy? Is there something that you want to stop doing? And then you can get more rest. You can have more time for the feeling comfortable that you got your homework done before you go to sleep. Don't over push your kids overboard. We're in a high functioning, I don't know if that's the word, district where, so many kids think that I have to be the best. Again, my older daughter, I have to take the AP class. I'm like, no, you don't. I really do. You want to go into orchestra, but I got to take, because my friends are. Remind them, they don't have to. They're going to find the school that works for them. That's the better choice than going to Yale, is going to a school that fits their personality and has what they want to study. And if you don't want to be in orchestra anymore, or if you don't want to be on the football team, it's okay. And it's also when your brain processes what happened the day before. If you're not getting enough sleep, it is affecting your mental health. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. We need to get sleep for so many reasons.
Also, mood regulation in general, just being able to be around other people. Sleep is really important. Okay, so everyone's teen has generally grown up within your household, within like a 15-mile radius of activities that maybe some people have time and money to travel outside the country or go to different states or, experience other things, other places. Most teens have just been in your house their whole life. And so their perception is only as far as where they are. Their environment goes only as far. So keeping that in mind, it's like sometimes we have these expectations from our teens to understand or know certain things because we've experienced that, but it's about having that empathy again, like putting yourself in their shoes, thinking about when you were a teen, how much you knew. Like you think you knew everything when you're 15 years old, but you don't. You think you've experienced everything, but you haven't. So keeping that in mind that they're still very young, even though sometimes teens look and act older than they really are, they still only know so much because their whole life has been your house, your family, your friends, their friends, and then whatever activity they're involved in. But pretty much it's just always been within the same sort of bubble. So just keeping that in mind is good to think about when you're getting frustrated with your teen.
And that their brain is still growing. It doesn't stop. The prefrontal cortex isn't complete 26. So yeah, they're still learning things. We need to understand that.
So what is empathy, and why is it very different than sympathy? Empathy fuels connection. Sympathy drives disconnection. Empathy, it's very interesting. Teresa Wiseman is a nursing scholar who studied professions, very diverse professions where empathy is relevant, and came up with 4 qualities of empathy. Perspective taking, the ability to take the perspective of another person or recognize their perspective as their truth. Staying out of judgment, not easy when you enjoy it as much as most of us do. Recognizing emotion in other people and then communicating that. Empathy is feeling with people. And to me, I always think of empathy as this kind of sacred space when someone's kind of in a deep hole and they shout out from the bottom and they say, I'm stuck, it's dark, I'm overwhelmed. And then we look and we say, hey, climb down. I know what it's like down here, and you're not alone. Sympathy is, ooh, it's bad, no, you want a sandwich? Empathy is a choice, and it's a vulnerable choice, because in order to connect with you, I have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. Rarely, if ever, does an empathic response begin with at least. And we do it all the time. Because you know what? Someone just shared something with us that's incredibly painful, and we're trying to silver lining it. I don't think that's a verb, but I'm using it as one. We're trying to put the silver lining around it. So, I had a miscarriage. Oh, at least you know you can get pregnant. I think my marriage is falling apart. At least you have a marriage. John's getting kicked out of school. At least Sarah is an A student. But one of the things we do sometimes in the face of very difficult conversations is we try to make things better. If I share something with you that's very difficult, I'd rather you say, I don't even know what to say right now, I'm just so glad you told me. Because the truth is, rarely can a response make something better. What makes something better is connection.
I guess that's the point of our presentation.
Karen's going to read a poem. I think you should stick around. I know it's like almost time to be over, but it's a really good one. So if you don't mind just listening to us one last time.
It's called An Ode to a Teenager by Kit McCollum. I think I shall begin to say a heartfelt and sincere apology to my dear folks to whom I hold so dear. You see, I am much older now, and I have kids of my own, and never did I think I'd reap the seed that I had sown. The flashback to my younger years and struggle to recall the innocence that I portrayed, for truly, after all, I'm sure I wasn't ever bad, or nasty, or talked back. I was an angel, wasn't I? I never caused much flack. I think that's right. It's years ago, and memories they can dim. But was I not the perfect child who obeyed your every whim? I think that's stretching truths a bit. I surely had my days. But does that really justify my own child's errant ways? What happened to my loving child, the one who did no wrong, the one I cuddled up at night and sang their favorite song? You are my sunshine one minute, my storm the moment next. I want to punish you at times, and yet I have regrets. For I was not a perfect child, I think I'll now admit. And teenage years are difficult for those enduring it. What I must keep in mind is this. I've taught you with my heart, and we've had many loving years. Our hard days ne'er shall part. For those ups and downs, the swings between young child and man, I'll keep in mind that this is just a part of life's strange plan. To let you grow, I have to try to take it daily now, for you are like a baby bird who's learning how to fly. You'll test your wings, and this I know, to see how far to push before I put my foot down and bring you down to earth. Now all I ask is work with me. We'll butt heads for a while, but just remember, I'm the one who goes the extra mile. I pay the bills, I mop the floors, I drive you here and there, but truly there are times when I just sit back in despair. I'm only human, nothing more, and I've been where you're at. Believe me when I truly say, I've been there and done that. So if that's true, you'd think that I would have a lesson learned and wouldn't fret or feel so hurt at times that you do turn into a quite unruly child, a person I do not know. But I will hold onto my heart for those facts I do know. And that is simple, pure, and clear. You're still my loving child. You simply have a stash of masks for times you're in disguise. So anytime I see a mask, I'll try my best to see that beautiful, loving, caring child whose true face is beneath. For I don't think you mean to say the things you sometimes do. It's in those times, my loving child, I'll point this out to you. For I do love you, but I've learned my lesson in this life. It's your turn now, so listen up. We need to ease the strife. So how about this, my dear young one? The next time that you shout, instead of arguing with me, look in my eyes of doubt and search to find those memories of the parent you still love. Reach out to me and talk it through and seal it with a hug.